Yo, hello, good evening. How are you guys doing? Pavlos asks, says, must be tough with pregnancy and a toddler. Thanks for not giving up on the show. I mean, it's all right. It's gonna, it's gonna be more when I have a baby and a toddler. Then it's gonna be a little bit more tough. Right now, it's still manageable. Still manageable. Let me quickly. Today's gonna be a little bit short. I want to get to bed. I'm tired. I think I've said that literally every single episode for the last, 2 months or something. But it's just how it is. I go to bed early now. Looks like we're going to Hades, whatever. I mean, Bitcoin looks all right. It's the altcoins that are dumping again a bunch. And the S&P is dumping a bunch. But Bitcoin looks all right. I mean, on the daily. On the higher time frames, looks a little bit worse. Oh, that's from last stream. Beautiful pizza. Okay. Before we start, big shout out to Woo for sponsoring the show. Really appreciate their support. Go check them out. Links are in the description. Cake Opium? Is Cake even around still? I think it got delisted, no? I don't even remember. Hello from Norway, Don. Hello to Norway. When ETH $25K, I'm gonna be happy with 4K, bro. I'm gonna be happy with I'm gonna be happy with 4, 5, 6K. 25K, I don't know. Having kids is taking its toll. Yeah, and also just the wife not sleeping well. And when the wife doesn't sleep well, I don't sleep well. So because my wife's struggling with pregnancy, she has troubles breathing at night, especially. So she wakes up a bunch, and I wake up when she wakes up. No sound, dude. Every time someone says that, I fall for it. I think there's sound. If there's not, and I've talked to myself for 4 minutes at this point, I'll be disappointed. But yeah. Doug, tell us how Binance are trying to 1984 Hyperliquid. I mean, I only saw a few people posting about it, so I don't know anything else than you seem to. I don't know how. I just know that someone tried to abuse the Hyperliquid system. I don't even know if they succeeded or not. I think they rolled it back-ish, but yeah. Bitcoin still the monthly is kind of getting rejected by resistance, which is not great, and we're still a little bit from support, which is also not great. So the monthly is kind of leaning bearish, but the trend's strong up. So there's at least that. There's also the news. I don't know if you guys saw that Saylor is buying with by taking loans. I haven't had the time to look into it properly yet, but that seems kind of wild. 10% interest loans or something like that. I mean, if that's true, fucking Saylor just going full crack addict on us. Just the guy needs to stop. I think it'd be more bullish for crypto. And I mean, this is just like I said, I haven't had enough time to look into it. But as far as I understood it, that was the case, a non-zero interest loan to buy Bitcoin with. And I think it's more bullish if he reduces risk instead of increases it, because we always have that kind of okay, what if Saylor fucks up and just buys too much and then gets wrecked? Sword dangling over our necks, which is not great. I wish that wasn't the case, but that's something for once the bear market properly hits. I don't think it's necessarily Saylor just increasing the leverage is not necessarily bearish right now, unless we're just entering a bear market, which I'm I don't know, like it's so hard to say. With like with the whole macro situation just worsening every day, because for some reason, like that's just how it is. Like everyone hates everyone right now. The Americans hate the Europeans. The Russians hate the Europeans. Everyone hates the Europeans, and then everyone hates America. Everyone hates Russia. Like everyone hates everyone. It's not necessarily great. Back in the day, it was just like everyone hated Russia and China, and then you had like everyone else was kind of on board, and now it's like everyone hates everyone. It's not great. So like with that in mind, like it's hard to be too bullish, but also I just kind of feel like it makes sense to have a little bit longer of a bull market. But we'll see how it goes. We'll just talk about the technicals first, and then we can talk about everything else. But yeah, the monthly on Bitcoin is leaning bearish, but given it's a strong trend, I think if like that's probably a neutral chart. The weekly time frame looks all right-ish. It technically broke down, and whenever you get breakdowns, and I know people get tired of me saying this over and over again, when you get a breakdown, you should assume it's a real breakdown until it's proven otherwise. Same is true for like breakouts. Obviously, you get a breakout here, should assume that it's gonna go up unless proven otherwise, right? And if you go through the history, like on the weekly time frame, like whenever you get these breakouts, you usually have a nice little trend following. So it makes sense to be a little bit cautious, right? Like I think it makes a lot of sense to be cautious. It's why I personally have not been buying on leverage like this dip. I'm still thinking like if I want to increase my risk, I would like to do it when the market entirely collapses into like 60 low 70s, high 60s, somewhere in this area. Like at that point, I think the move would be overdone, or if we get some strength, like by reclaiming 90k, reclaiming the old range, sort of what we have done before, like here where we broke down and then reclaimed it. The moment we reclaimed it, we never really looked back, right? So if we reclaim, I think that'd be a good case to make for like a bullish setup. Also nice and risk defined, right? You have like a loss. So basically, like let's say we traded like at 94, 93k, a loss of the range would be enough. Like a weekly close below the range would be enough to kind of like just be cautious at least, if not close to position, which is a very, very tight stop loss, but it's just it's not a static one. It's one where you just observe the closes, and then the static stop loss would be like around 80, right? So you have like an entry like at 94. If we start losing 91, 90k, that'd be an exit. And if obviously like that is dependent on the close, and if it moves even lower, the hard stop would be like in the 80s. I think that's not a bad trade setup. Kind of how I look at it, if I wanted to increase risk, right? Right now, I think it's one of the worst areas, on the weekly at least. The daily looks a little bit better, but on the weekly time frame, we're running into resistance. That said, like there is a case to be made, and this is what I talked about when we're trading like down here, right? Like I was bullish this triangle in 2018, and I was like, why would we retest like 6k and then fuck off? Like if anything, we should front run it and then go down, right? Like if it was bearish. I believed it to be bullish. So I was like, if we go to 6k, that's actually not where we're gonna get rejected. That's where it's gonna accelerate. And we're kind of like in a somewhat similar situation. It's just the dump hasn't been as strong, right? So back then, I think it was pretty obvious. I was a little bit early. I bought 4k and then went to 3k, and then I had to like properly lever up, and I was shitting bricks the entire time. I mean, there's been streams of me in that time period. Must be somewhere on the internet. I was shitting bricks. I was like, this is going up, but I was like, oh fuck, I'm actually losing a lot of money right now. at least when it went to 4 to 3K, and then I levered up pretty close to the bottom. It rallied. I was euphoric. It went back down. I was shitting bricks again, and then it finally broke out, right? But generally, when you have these obvious resistance levels, they get front run, which kind of like we did that kind of this week. Didn't really get there, and then turned around a little bit. But I think if we come back up there again, you probably should be like, if you're a bear, you need to be quick to jump out of the way if there's any bullish movement, right? But that's kind of where we're at right now. Like if it nukes, this would be very interesting for leverage, but would be bad for the market, I think. If it rallies, that'd be good for the market. It's just a little bit of a worse entry, but it's a nice risk to find setup. So the weekly time frame king right now would be good if it just keeps going up. Best case scenario, in my opinion, we do this akin to what we did here, where we push up and then you just explode. That'd be best case. That would need the macro situation to change a little bit, reliant on like Trump not pushing on more tariffs, no war starting. There's a little bit of like rumors going around everywhere. That there's some interest in taking over Greenland from America. That will obviously be hilariously bearish. I don't necessarily believe in it, but all of those things have an impact. So news are quite important. So even if you get a bullish setup, you still have to sit. And this is the annoying part about this being a macro asset now. Like if you get a bullish setup back in the day, you would just take it. Now if you get a bullish setup and it hasn't really moved yet much, you need to sit around and check the news cycle, because if you don't and something comes out, and so far it's been almost always very obvious how it's going to play out, but if you don't and you miss that, your setup could get blown up. And so there's edge in sitting in front of a computer now, more so than there used to be. You like back in the day, you just needed to make sure that you don't get like psy-op yourself out of the trade. Now there's actually good reasons to get out of a trade or get in. Anyone that was shorting, like when we were nuking here, knows that story, right? Where like it's bearish and then Trump makes a tweet about like a bunch of altcoins and Bitcoin and strategic reserve. It's trading like $5,000 up. You're completely fucked. And then it turns out like it's not as he necessarily tweeted. It nukes all the way back down again. It goes down further. It goes back out. Like there's a lot of edge in trade management based on news right now. That's all I'm saying. Don, have you had the new baby yet? No. Coming soon though. Coming soon. It's in the next 3 to 5 weeks. Is 33K by July still in play? That's still around. But yeah, that's the weekly time frame. I earlier said that the daily looks kind of okay, and I stand by that. It's actually quite nice how we did not get rejected by this area. I think that was the most obvious resistance. We traded above it briefly, false breakout, and then we're trading back above it again. It's obviously not the cleanest, but that's because, as you can see here, this often happens. It's something that you can check up yourself. But when you have no price history on the left side, you have weird price action on the right side. Basically, I mean, the market doesn't really know what to do. It's not necessarily obvious where to bid, and then you get weird places and weird rejections and all that kind of shit. That's kind of what we're dealing with right now. But this recovery is quite nice. It is aided by the S&P just bouncing a bunch. So like if that maintains, and you can see like that's a little bit of a nicer chart in my opinion. Like Bitcoin is a little bit of a nicer chart than the S&P. So if that maintains and the S&P continues showing strength, I think we'll have like a really, really good crypto setup. It's mainly, can the S&P remain strong? And that's a really hard question to answer for a crypto guy like me. Like I'm I'm good at trading crypto, and I'm not necessarily the macro expert. So banks minting stablecoins now. Will fundamentals ever be useful for trade with real stuff being built now? I mean, yeah, and the more real shit you get, the more fundamentals matter, obviously. And people will always just take like memes or whatever as an example that is not the case, but they're just wrong. Like the stuff that lasts, right? The stuff that isn't just like a one cycle and done, like that's based on fundamentals, right? There's infinite coins that came and like went up infinite and then went down 99.9%. And then there's stuff that is still around, and obviously like right now not much, like fundamentals don't really matter as much as just kind of hype does, but over the longer time frames it does matter somewhat. And the more fundamentally driven, or like the bigger the market gets, the more fundamentally driven it's gonna be, in my opinion. Cardano is still gonna outperform everything as vaporware. I mean, they're positioning themselves quite nicely, right? It's the same like with TRX and their whole like being used for almost all the stablecoin transfers. Like everyone agrees that TRX is kind of like, or like almost everyone agrees that TRX is kind of like a scam chain, and no one wants to do anything with Justin Sun. And then, but you also have the fact that most of the transactions of stablecoins, or like a lot of them, at least a significant portion of stablecoins are just transacted there, right? And then you could argue, like from like just from an outsider perspective, like, hey, why is everyone calling this a scam if that's like one of the more used chains in crypto? And then the crypto people will be like, it's fucking TRX. Don't even dare talk about this shit. And I am on that page, but I also like, it's the same with ADA and with all of these, with XRP, right? Like people are like, these are scam chains, but at the end of the day, like nothing really works just yet. Like there's not really much of revenue on any of this stuff. There's not really much value generated, other than for like traders. So judging whether something is a scam or not is actually harder than you would think. And people are like convinced that, and I mean me too, right? Like I'm not trying to defend ADA, but people are convinced of their standpoint, while they don't really know what they're talking about. Don, what are your thoughts on Europe long term as an economy and as a place to live? I think it's one of the best places to live and probably will remain to be one of the best in the world. Economically, I think it's also somewhat fine. Obviously, there's better places economically, but it's kind of fine. People overdo the whole like Europe is fucked. It's just not true. If Europe is fucked, like everything else is fucked too. Like look at America. Like I wouldn't say America is doing well. Look at like all the leaders in the world. Like you look at China and you're like, oh yeah, the population growth is kind of topping out. The whole housing market is kind of struggling. You have a bunch of kind of like poorly built garbage standing around. And I would say China is even like one of the better ones right now in the world. But like everyone has troubles right now. And people are just kind of focusing on whoever. The Europeans are kind of looking at America and are like, America's just fucked. The Americans look at Europe and are like, Europe is kind of fucked. The Chinese are looking, like everyone in the world is just going through a downturn right now, and everyone's just kind of trying to look at someone else to convince themselves that they have it better than someone else. Whereas like, I think everyone's just kind of going through it right now. I suspect Tether started as a scam and just found a way to make it big and legit. Could see the same with XRP. I don't know about that. Like, I don't think it was a scam. There was a few questionable moments in its history, but yeah, I think a lot of the crypto stuff, it happened with a lot of exchanges funnily enough, a lot of you might not even know this, and a lot of you might not know these like exchanges, but there's a couple, like proper, like more than a couple, like more than a handful even of exchanges that started out as kind of like with the intention to kind of like just scam people ish. And then they got so much profit, they were like, why would we be scamming? Like, it's just like, this is a cash cow. And then they ran away with it. People just look for excuses to move to Dubai. Yeah, I don't know. Anyone that moves to Dubai, I wouldn't necessarily take their opinion too seriously. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, that's Bitcoin. Like I said, weekly, not really that actionable right now, but it's going to be in the future. The daily, like I said, we are kind of like trading into support today. And if the S&P dump that we've had today, or like a little bit of a retrace stops, this is a nice area to hold. And then on the daily time frame, we trade above this green red box at 90K. Starts looking really good really fast, right? So we're really close, but we are also like, I think just generally whenever you're this close, you're like, oh, it's almost bullish. You're also in a lot of danger. If it turns around, you just literally bought the bearish retest of sorts, right? But let's say we kind of keep moving upwards like this. I think if you kind of run into the 90K resistance again, like we did in the past, I think there's a good chance we just explode upwards. And that would be nice. That would be nice. But right now, it's not happening. We'll see how it goes in the future. Like I said, it is a little bit reliant on the S&P. So harder to trade than it used to be. Switzerland is really nice. Everyone in Norway, really rich people moving. I mean, the Norwegians have just introduced a weird new tax law that I don't see the point of, where people just get taxed a shitload if they have a lot of money. And I mean, I'm down with high taxes for rich, like for super rich people. I mean, I paid quite high taxes in Germany as well. I mean, I paid the maximum that you can pay, and it's one of the highest, I think, in Europe, but it needs to make sense. And there'll be infinite easy ways to avoid taxes in crypto, but I just don't see the point. Like if you're sad about the money that you're paying in taxes, just make more money. Like like if you give up 40-50% of your money to taxes, I mean, just make another 2x. What's the problem? No, but all jokes aside, it's just how it is. But it needs to be reasonable, right? Like if you're getting completely fucked and it makes no sense anymore, then I think, yeah, makes sense to kind of just give up on it. But yeah, that's Bitcoin. We have another few, like I'll go through like a few altcoins, but there's nothing really interesting, and I will call it a night. ETH, the monthly is really interesting to me, and I want to see how that closes in 5 days. I would like to see it close above 2.2K. That'd be the first bullish sign that we've had in a long time. If not even that happens, and right now, I mean, we're kind of like quite a bit away from it. I mean, it's just cursed. But yeah, I would like to see 2.2. Then we could, like, I could argue strength. Otherwise, just needs to close back much higher, 2.8K ish, for me to be interested in leverage. And people might say like, hey, it's trading at 2K. I'm gonna miss out on like 50% of price action, right? Like, let's say you long here, and then you get in at 2.8, 2.9. But it's an altcoin at the end of the day, right? And when you get good price action, like, do you really, I mean, obviously it's nicer if you long the 120 and then take it all the way up here for the 3K gain, rather than like you long here and you just take like the 700. But it's also like if you long somewhere here and then you got stopped out on this one, whatever, like it's also like just generally from a trading perspective, you sometimes, like at least me, I like to just bet on this rather than saying, okay, this has to be the Pico bottom, right? Because the Pico bottom, it's only ever going to happen once. And like the kind of confirmation of sorts, you're going to get more than once. So it's easier to bet on this than it is to bet on this. I mean, I'm not a hater of buying bottoms. I love it. But in this case, I don't feel too confident, especially given I have a bunch of ETH already. So if I miss the bottom, I mean, I'll still make some money back. But I don't want to lose extra, basically. But if we close the monthly above 2.2, maybe I'll get interested. That'd be the first thing that needs to happen. And then with XRP, that still looks excellent to me. It's actually kind of crazy how this is holding up in comparison to everything else. I mean, just compared to ETH, compared to Solana. Like, look at this. Solana against XRP. This is the Solana chart. It's been down only since November, and it is down since November by 84%, right? So if you've been holding since November, Solana over XRP, you've lost 84% on a relative basis. So that's still really, really strong, right? And you can compare it with almost anything. XRP is just strong, but altcoins generally have been suffering. One thing that's been surprisingly strong this week has been Dogecoin. Me personally, I'm not gonna trade this anymore. I know I said this before and then I traded it again, but I'm not really that interested. But it is something to note, right? That we have a little bit of like Dogecoin strength. I think honestly, it has to do with just Tesla bouncing. You have a Tesla, like a little bit of a bounce, and then people are just like, Elon is back, and then they bought a bunch of Doge. I mean, fair enough, fair play, but I'm not the biggest fan of that. Don't really think makes much sense. Unless you think Elon is going to become next president somehow and going to run away with Dogecoin, then maybe it makes sense, but I just don't believe in it. And then other than that, I mean, Solana is on weekly support, bouncing really weakly. Like that's a shit bounce considering the level. That has me a little bit spooked, but also it is support and it's been holding so many times. So yeah, I mean, me personally, like those kind of things, I just would rather not buy, just because I don't want to be the guy that gets wicked and then it goes up. I'd rather buy it after the wick, like when it comes back higher. But so far, that's not really been a good strategy, right? Like I said the same thing when we were trading here. It never went a little bit higher, now back here. But I just don't like it. Like a support that you've tested like this, like fuck no. Like I don't want to be the guy that gets liquidated with everyone else, even if it goes back up, right? And it can, as you can see in here, like it bounced and it bounced like shitty, and then it went. So maybe it does something like this and then goes again. I just don't like the trade setup. And then with everything else, everything's just fucking boring. There's really not that much interesting stuff going on. I don't know if you guys saw GME announced that they might buy Bitcoin, or like that they plan on buying Bitcoin. Talked about this. It's quite funny to me because I was like, what's the only way to make this chart go up again? And then I was like, to buy Bitcoin. And now here we are. Is Litecoin cooked? 5 more days, my friend. 5 more days. But I mean, if it closes like this, that wouldn't be so great. That'd be a first sign that it's not that good. We talked about the same thing when ETH was kind of like struggling with the diagonal. Do you have it somewhere? Was it ETH BTC? Diagonal. I don't remember. I think it was ETH USD. No? Did we delete it? I think we had one like this, right? Where it's like it traded up and then it started falling down again, and Like everyone was kind of worried that it would lose the triangle, and it actually did, and then it just disappeared. Could happen to Litecoin as well, right? That's the danger here, but I want to see how it closes, and then we'll see how that goes. Fartcoin is doing well. I mean, I'm not surprised. One of the funnier meme coins. Don, could you kindly do MicroStrategy? And what do you think of Saylor no longer aping into Bitcoin? I mean, he's going to ape into Bitcoin the moment he gets more money, and he's looking for money everywhere. But I personally would never buy MicroStrategy. I think it's really, really bad investment long term. Like that's almost always going to just end up poorly, I think. And if it's not this year or next year, it's long term. Long term, I think the way he plays it, and if he doesn't stop, I think that is like almost guaranteed to fail. Yeah, he owns, Ichigrama says he owns 2.4%. Yeah, 2.5% is the number that I had in my head, but he owns too much for my liking. And I mean, to me, just buy Bitcoin if you're bullish Bitcoin. Don't buy MicroStrategy. Hey Dawn, a long while ago, you mentioned you were bearish, thinking recession because of Trump. At the moment, not in that camp. I mean, I still think, like Trump is making it really hard, because I was pretty sure Trump would crash the markets, and I was kind of right on that. But he's also like just hilariously bullish crypto, right? Like it's the one thing that he's been consistent on this presidency, is just like trying to pump those bags. And that makes it really hard, because I was like, I think the markets are going to do poorly under Trump. I think that was a very, very like niche opinion. Like I don't think many people thought that way, but I was pretty certain he was like, it's not going to be so good. But I also thought he would be less aggressively bullish crypto, right? Now we have like a weird situation where he's pushing crypto more than I thought, but he's also doing kind of what I thought on the market front. So yeah, I don't know. Makes it really hard. That's why I have a little bit. If it goes up, great. If it goes down, I can buy more. It's kind of how I look at it right now. But yeah, if GME has a lot of money, they have a lot of cash, and if they buy a lot of Bitcoin, maybe we get like a little bit of a new high. I think that would not, like if they buy aggressively, anywhere similar to what Saylor was doing, I think we're in for some fun. They just announced tariffs on cars. Yeah, every time the market goes up, the Trump administration is like threatening new tariffs or wars or whatever. But yeah, I think that's enough for today. Hope that helped. I mean, like I said, there's really not that much going on. We want to see a close above the daily for like above 90K. We want to see a close on the weekly above 90K. That'd be nice. And then with ETH, we would like just 10% higher for the monthly. And the monthly on all of these is going to be interesting. So that's going to be interesting next week. This week is just a little bit boring. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for coming by. Thanks for the questions. Big shout out to Wu, like I said at the beginning of the show. Really appreciate their support. And we'll see each other next time. Bye-bye.